This is Big Podcast.
Now, I want you to keep this in mind as I'm saying this. When you hear me, you are hearing me going through compression and EQ. And there are a lot of people that's the only way that they've ever heard me. They've never heard my real voice, the non-compressed, non-EQ'd voice. Still, though, what you're hearing now is my real voice with just, a touch-up. A lot of people are not confident with their voice. And the question is, how can I get more confident? How can I have that radio voice? Radio voice is more or less you just being able to control your voice. One of the ways to do that, it's cardio, doing exercise. I like to jump rope. You could run. Some people on the treadmill. I'm going to talk more about the treadmill on this episode, a different kind of treadmill though. However, since I am using that word, just want to give you a quick message. Yeah, if you want that radio voice, take care of your voice, man. Don't smoke, hydrate, get exercise for your lungs, and get behind the mic. Practice. This is Build a Big Podcast, a marketing podcast for podcasters. If you want to grow your podcast, get your podcast to more people, get more people to care about your podcast, make more money with your podcast, spread a message that matters, you're in the right place. You can find me at bigpodcast.com. This episode, the audio edition of my weekly newsletter, that is called Big Podcast Insider. It goes out every Friday morning, New York time. You can find it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 223, and here's what I'm going to cover. The podcasting treadmill, a different kind of podcasting treadmill. You may already be on this one. How engaging is your episode title? I got a great tool that's going to let you know. A manifesto for content creators. That's you, podcaster. A Mailchimp alternative. Really an alternative for any mailing software. You're going to save yourself some money with this. The power of local and regional events. This episode of Build a Big Podcast is brought to you by Riverside.fm, a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible accessible to anyone. You're going to create high-quality content with ease, local recording of audio and video. That's because Riverside records you and your guest and your co-host locally. You're going to bypass poor, unstable internet connections. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You're going to sound like you're in the same room. You're going to get instant transcriptions powered by AI with 99% accuracy. Automatically transcribe your recordings in seconds with their AI-powered technology. It's accurate, reliable, and it supports more than 100 languages. Audio and video editing by text, also magic clips. That's when they take your long-form audio content, run it through their magic clips machine, chop it up into social media posts that let you promote your podcast, bring more people over to it, and grow your audience. It's everything you need to record your podcast, edit your podcast, and market your podcast. Check it out for free. Riverside.fm, that's the URL. They're going to give you a couple of hours to look under the hood, kick the tires, see how it works for you. If you want to stick around, I've got a discount code. Again, the URL, Riverside.fm, that discount code, Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. That's Riverside.fm, the discount code to get 15% off. Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. All right, we're going from thing to thing to thing, all of them about podcasting. Just so you know that I'm going to the next thing, and just so you know that if you want the links to things that I'm talking about, if you want more information, you want to see it in writing, you're going to hear this sound. When you hear that, if you want more information, you want the links, you want to see it in writing, go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 223. Are you ready? The podcasting treadmill. This is longer than the normal intros that I do, but I think it's important. I want to encourage you to at least skim through it. There's something in content marketing, which is basically what we do as podcasters. People refer to it as the content treadmill. It's the relentless cycle of producing content at a breakneck pace to stay relevant, please algorithms, keep your audience engaged. We see this with podcasters when they do daily podcasts. I talked about the number one podcast, or it's number two again, Midas Touch, a week ago. 15 episodes a day. That's how they did that. I mean, that is pounding things at a breakneck speed. Is it worthwhile? Maybe. We're on a 24-hour news cycle. Yeah, they made number one, beat Joe Rogan, but look at what they're having to do it. It can be exhausting. And if you feel like you're constantly chasing trends, you're pumping out content without time to reflect, improve, or enjoy the process, that's a recipe for burnout. The treadmill traps podcasters in a loop of quantity over quality. It's driven by external pressures rather than creative fulfillment. Now, I don't disagree with this statement, But I had a popular podcaster say one time, he said, you want to double your downloads, double your episodes. I'm like, kinda. I mean, that's kind of, you're assuming all subscribers are downloading everything you're doing. But the reality is, the more stuff you put out there, the more little soldiers you have out there promoting your podcast, bringing people back to your podcast that may become fans, that is certainly possible. But getting on the treadmill and getting out of that creative fulfillment, that is certainly an issue when you do that. This podcast, the one you're listening to, Build a Big Podcast, it was originally called Big Podcast Daily. It started as a 30-day challenge. I said, I'm going to keep this up. I think I can do it. I think I made, 180 days. And I knew I was locked into the name when I started it. But I was thinking, 30 days, I'm good. Never dreamed I'd be doing a podcast about podcasting like 10 years later. But here we are. Anyway, it's easy to get on the treadmill, even if you're not planning on doing it. How do you know? This is what it looks like. If you're constantly stressed about publishing schedules, if you're feeling disconnected from your original podcasting goals, if you're sacrificing rest and personal life for podcast deadlines, if you're chasing numbers, and that could be likes, it could be downloads, it could be followers, instead of meaningful engagement. If you look at the newsletter.bigpodcast.com, have I mentioned that yet? Of course. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, you will see that I'm looking for engagement from people. I want you to go to Blue Sky. I want you to reach out to me. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Let me know if you've got any questions. That's what I consider success. It is not the number of subscribers. It is not the number of listeners. Because I don't know when I send something out, and you don't know either, if somebody's actually listening to your podcast, if somebody's actually opening your email, unless those people come back to you and say, this was great. I've got a question about this. Or, this was great, and leave it at that. Or maybe they don't like it. That counts as engagement too. But anyway, if you're chasing numbers, likes, downloads, followers, it's what I call hungry ghost. It is never enough. And the issue that we face when we can see everybody's views, and I'm talking about YouTube, and those views, that doesn't even count. It's 3 seconds or something. They say, okay, that's a view. And they can put you on autoplay, and that counts as a view. We can look at that and say, I've only got 1,000 downloads an episode, or 500 downloads an episode, or 20 downloads an episode. Start to feel really bad about ourselves. All audiences start at 0. The only reason that some podcasts seem to come out of nowhere when they're brand new is because they're with a host or a production company who doesn't have 0 as an audience at that time. But they did. Everybody starts at 0, and you've got to build it up. And 20, much better than 0. Ask yourself this. You're losing enthusiasm for podcasting and feeling that it's just work. It's a grind, man. Yeah, it's a grind. I'm in my tricked out closet, 5x8 closet. It's a grind, man. You got to really love this stuff to stick with it. Are you on the podcasting treadmill? Let's talk about how to get off. Reconnect with your why. That's one way. Remind yourself of the reason you started podcasting in the first place. Was it to share knowledge, inspire others, bring people to Jesus, express creativity? Write that down and make that your North Star. And when I say write that down, I'm saying write it down, literally. Put it on your computer terminal. Put it in your studio. Do whatever you need to do to put that front and center so you remember why you were doing this. The other thing that you may want to think about, and I would certainly suggest this, and listeners actually appreciate this, is focusing on quality over quantity. It is very possible for you to burn listeners out if you are publishing a lot of episodes. And what happens, say you got a daily podcast, they're 2 or 3 days behind, 4 or 5 days behind, a week behind because they left town and they came back. Oh my gosh, I got 5 or 7 of these things that I need to go through. They give up on them. And if they give up on that week's worth of episodes, they may just give up on everything because people have a tendency to get overwhelmed and say, I am out of here. What does that look like? Well, instead of trying to publish a new episode daily or multiple times per week, shift your focus to creating fewer episodes that truly resonate with your listeners. High-value episodes build trust and loyalty better than a flood of mediocre ones. Now, there's one podcast in the independent podcasting space. I'm not even going to mention the name. You may know it. If you don't know it, who cares? This guy came out with a daily podcast, the first independent guy to do it. It wasn't a news podcast. It was him interviewing people by asking the exact same questions to each person who came on the show. Is that a real interview? Yeah, kind of. It was definitely formulaic. He had a system. He was able to do daily podcasts because of this. This dude got a lot of attention because people thought, whoa, you're doing a daily podcast. That's crazy. I wouldn't say that it was high quality. It was definitely quantity. And that was a novel thing back then. Oh, this guy's doing daily episodes. Oh my gosh. Everybody started talking about him. And yeah, there are listeners out there. If you get the word out, there's 7-8 billion people in the world. Somebody's going to listen to it. You got a lot of listeners. And again, daily podcasts, you want to double your listeners, do twice as many episodes. Yeah. When you put out 15 episodes a day or even 15 episodes every couple of weeks, that's going to be a lot of downloads if you have somebody subscribing to that feed. But it doesn't mean people are listening, and it doesn't mean people are going to stick around. I know a lot of people on these podcasts that were getting a lot of attention like that because this was a trend for a while. Absolutely no movement, no engagement, no book sales, no event sales. Nobody's listening to them. People are just talking about, oh man, have you seen this guy? He's doing a daily podcast. Not to knock on a guy's thing, right? But it's not going to work for most people. It works for the first guy who does it because he gets the attention. After that, there's no novelty to it. You got 20, 30 other podcasts come out the next day. They're doing daily. Who cares? We've already seen this one guy. If you want to do it, you can do it. The novelty's not there anymore, and that's why that guy got attention. It was novel. It wasn't the fact that it was a daily episode. It was the fact that it was a daily episode, and nobody had seen that before. Now that people have seen it, who cares? You got to set boundaries. This is another way to get off the treadmill. Decide how much time you're willing to dedicate to podcasting each week and stick with it. Tools like time blocking, scheduling, that's going to protect your time. Block out everything else, do your podcast, and when you're done, go do everything else. Black or white. There's no gray area. A lot of podcasters, when they get on the treadmill, they think, oh man, I really should be podcasting. I should be editing. I should be interviewing. And then when they're podcasting, editing, interviewing, they're thinking, oh man, I should really be hanging out with my family, exercising, going on a walk, touching grass. They're not present. And you've got to be present if you're going to have a good podcast. Again, it's quality over quantity. Podcasting takes a lot of energy. Yeah, you can ask the same questions, not respond to people. That's reading a script. But to really listen, to do research, to do pre-interviews, to respond to people as they're talking, and to think, hey, my audience would be interested if I ask this and then ask it. That takes a lot of energy. You can delegate and automate some things, SEO, graphic design, editing maybe. I would suggest that if you're a new podcaster, you edit your own stuff, at least the first 100 episodes. Learn your tricks, learn your habits, know what a good edit looks like to you, and that way hiring somebody is going to be so much easier. And you've got a big catalog of things that you can give to people and say, I want you to make your edits like this 100 episodes that I've already edited. That's going to help you. But you can't delegate, automate, assign these things. That may help you to get off the treadmill. You want to audit your platforms too. Are you spreading yourself too thin? Is it better to focus on one or two platforms where your audience is more engaged than trying to be everywhere at once? And we see this right now with X. It is dead for most people. Now, if you're doing some kind of right-wing stuff, rage farming, maybe, I don't know. I'm not in that world. For me, I know my audience left. I left with them. No longer on X. Twitter is what we used to call that, by the way. Does anybody call it X? I think that's the official name. We still call it Twitter sometimes. Audit your platforms. Instagram used to be hot. Not so much. They're making it like TikTok. TikTok used to be hot. Then they banned it. Then they brought it back. Do you want to build something on something that might be banned? You know, pick your battles, man. Adjust your metrics for success. This is something else you want to look at. I was having a walk with a friend of mine. She's divorced and she's rebuilding her life. Not that it was destroyed, but we were having a discussion about this. And I'm there too. We're always rebuilding, right? Should be. That's my belief. She brought me in on it and she said, maybe we need to reevaluate what success is. In your 40s and your 50s, it's going to be different than what it is in your 20s. In your 20s, it's different from what it is when you're a teenager. One of those things that I suggest for people who really want a big podcast, and I've already alluded to this, is moving away from vanity metrics. Now that's subscribers, that's downloads. Instead, focus on meaningful measures, things like audience retention, direct feedback, conversions, selling stuff if you're selling stuff, and how fulfilled you are when you create your content? Do you feel good about your podcast? Or you're like, ugh, it's Tuesday, time to record again. And sometimes you're going to have that happen regardless of how engaged you are. It's funny, I was actually out in my yard. My radio producer drove by just a couple days ago. Stopped his car in the middle of the road. He's like, hey, man, I'm glad to see you're still alive. Because after the holidays, we kind of took a break. You know, he was out of town. I was kicking off the new year with some other projects. Sometimes we take breaks. We've been in this thing for 20 years. And it's like a family. It really is. And it's nice to have a family. We can say, oh, man, I got to take a break. You mind if I take a couple weeks off? And by the way, your audience is your family. They're going to understand that. They want you to continue. They don't want you burn out, and they want that quality over quantity. So consider that if you're on the treadmill, get that community going. Stop looking at vanity metrics. You probably heard this thing, 1,000 true fans. That's true when it comes to podcasting. And let's take it back to viewer numbers, these vanity metrics, the things that you'll see on YouTube. 1 million views. All right, yeah, of 3 seconds each. Not all of them, but some of them. Podcasts, and I'm talking about audio podcast, every aspect of what we are looking for when it comes to connection, completion, listening time, engagement. Audio podcasting has that in spades compared to video. Part of that's the algorithm, part of that's how people find us. Regardless of what causes that, those numbers are real. Something else, if you feel like you're on the treadmill, experiment without pressure. Give yourself space to try new formats and styles outside of the algorithm's demands. You might find something that reignites your passion. One of the things that I've thought about doing on this podcast, because I know I'm in a predicament, again, looking at stats, monologue podcasts do not have the engagement or the listenership as a co-hosted interview style podcast. I'm not looking at doing interviews, but I am looking at bringing in other people and having discussions around these topics. It's easier to listen to. People find two people back and forth so much easier to have in the background than me just blah, 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 telling you a one-way conversation about podcasting. You got to be present for this kind of stuff. Conversation, a little bit different. You can miss a little bit of it. You can check out a bit maybe, pick it up where you left off, even if it's a few minutes later into the conversation. This style format, the audio edition of the weekly newsletter, that was an experiment. More or less to keep me on track. I was running into this kind of stuff. I was like, well, I hadn't put an episode out this week. This format, the audio edition of the newsletter, was going to force me to keep on schedule because the written version of the newsletter is every week. It was an experiment. Here we are, 223 episodes in. That's not including the other episodes that I've got of this podcast. I'm about 650 or so. So there are a lot of them. If an experiment doesn't work, move on to the next experiment. It's a joke about the light bulb. I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just know 10,000 things that don't work. Same with your podcast. It's not always going to work until you put it out. You really don't know if it'll work or not. Even though we've got best practices, we kind of have an idea. Until you put it out, you don't know. So put it out. See if it works for you. When you get off the treadmill, it doesn't mean you're abandoning ambition. It's about finding a sustainable rhythm that lets you thrive creatively while still reaching your goal. That's it. The most successful podcasters aren't the ones who publish the most. The most successful podcasters connect deeply. They stay consistent over time. They protect their mental health while delivering genuine value. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you're also protecting your audience's mental health by not bombarding them with low-quality, high-frequency content. That's not good for them either, man. Think about the audience and think about yourself. By the way, if you're looking for a community to help you, Big Podcast Amp, I've talked about it. You're going to get personal coaching from me. You're going to get a community of other podcasters who are working this hard, dealing with this kind of stuff. Like, hey, man, I'm 5-10 years in. I'm getting burnt out. How do you deal with it? Here's some different things to think about. Here's some encouragement. Let's get back to your why. Bigpodcast.com/amp. That is where to find more information. If you want everything that I've talked about written, some more information that I haven't talked about here as far as the podcasting treadmill, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 223. Real quick, I want to talk about Big Podcast Amp a little bit more. If you like the newsletter If you like this podcast, you're going to love Big Podcast AMP. That's AMP. It stands for Audio Monetization Program. It's a personal coaching program that's going to help you do three things. 1, grow your podcast audience. 2, get people talking about your podcast. And 3, make more money with your podcast and your podcasting skills. I haven't talked about this, and I may. I just got hired by Apple, and they wanted to work with me because of my voice, and it helped that I had a Southern accent, and I'm a 50-year-old guy. They're looking for different demographics to program Siri. So if you're interested in stuff like that, those opportunities out there, I'm connected in the scene. I can help you out with them. You can get the details at bigpodcast.com/amp. That's bigpodcast.com/AMP. How engaging is your podcast title? I've got an analyzer tool. It is linked at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. It is a great way to look at podcast episode titles and tweak them to make them more interesting. Before people listen to you, they are reading your title. They are looking at your artwork. They're thinking, should I take the chance on this episode? The better your episode title, the better your artwork, the more downloads you are going to get. Here's what this tool looks like. It's going to look at your title. It's going to analyze the following elements. 1, relevance. 2, punchiness. 3, clarity. Do they know what you're talking about? 4, catchiness. 5, context. 6, emotional impact. I want you to note something. It was originally created for bloggers. So what you're going to want to do if you use this thing is you're going to want to use the blog post tool for best results. But it's the same thing, man. Why do people read a blog post? Why do people watch a YouTube video? Why do people listen to a podcast episode? It's these things: relevance, punchiness, clarity, catchiness, context, and emotional impact. It's going to make you work a little bit harder, get a better episode title out of you, and it's going to be worth it. Same episode, but better results. I'm curious about the results that you get from this, by the way. I would love to see the before and after. If you run your episode through this tool, do reach out to me on Blue Sky. I've got the link to the tool and the way to reach out to me via Blue Sky. Both of those things linked, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is episode number 223. A manifesto for content creators. That includes you. You know, I love a good manifesto. I've got one myself. It's 10 podcasting lessons in 282 words. If you have not read that, I have that linked, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. I've got another one here. I didn't write it, but it's 40 things to keep in mind as a content creator. And here are some of my favorites. I'm going to talk about each of these here. 1, try. Don't be afraid to go after your dreams. A lot of people in your life, well, maybe not your life, but a lot of lives of podcasters, they think, oh, that's a nice little hobby. That's not going to go anywhere. And maybe not, but don't let that keep you from trying. So I love that. I think it's a good baseline for where we need to be. Sometimes as creative people, we write our stuff off. Oh, it's just a little hobby. Maybe, and that's fine. But if you really want to go for it, yeah, man, try. Don't be afraid to go after your dreams. Number 2, stick with it. Don't quit. I talked about this earlier. I am this podcast, about 10 years in, but all podcasting, 20 years in. And I did radio before that. So I've done a lot of episodes, a lot of different podcast shows to get to this level. You got to stick with it, man. You are not going to get to the level that you want, assuming that you don't want to just go, and just have some kind of amateur recording of you and your friends hanging out. You're not going to get to that level instantly, but you can get to it. You got to stick with it. Don't quit. That's number 2 on this list. Number 3, he says, develop your voice. And that is definitely something that comes with time. You may think you know what you want, and you do know what you want now, but the inside, always different than the outside. Once you get involved with something, you think, well, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. It takes a minute to develop your voice. I used to listen to these guys. I think, how did you get that radio voice? And I talked about this at the very beginning of this episode. That, confidence, the phrasing, whatever it is, what we call radio voice. It comes with time. It comes with you getting behind the mic. It comes with you editing yourself. So I love this. Develop your voice. Continue to do it. How do you do it? Get on the mic. And that maybe is your why. That's going to be that thing that when you're tired, think, I'm working on this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's where I am today, but I get to do this and I'm going to do it. This is going to help me develop my voice. He advises you to get to know your peers. There is power in community. I talked about Big Podcast AMP just a minute ago, the audio monetization program. A big part of that is you connecting with other podcasters. It's you getting with people that are working just as hard as you are. And there are different ways to do that. Big Podcast Amp, not the only way for sure. There's regional events, local events, national events, full of podcasters, full of different content creators, YouTubers, book authors. You can learn from all of these guys. And I don't think there's that much difference when it comes to you having a dream, you finding your voice, you having that stick-to-itiveness to stick with something until something comes of it. We're all in the same game there. And I think all of those different groups of people can benefit you as a podcaster. He says, make it fun, but don't forget that it's work. And that is true. There's a saying, I think it was Stephen Pressfield. He said, we don't take ourselves seriously, but we do take our work seriously. And I agree with that. You've got to laugh at yourself when you are doing this stuff. I've talked about trying new segments, testing things out. You know, one of the things that I tell beginning podcasters to do, speaking of a radio voice, turn that radio voice up to 11. Like, hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast, you know, whatever. And then dial it back to find something a little bit more authentic for yourself. Get in there and have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. This, hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. That is so much more interesting to listen to than the opposite of that, which is what happens a lot of times. People hit that red button, the record button, and they're, hey guys, yeah, this is the podcast. You have no self-esteem, no gravitas, no excitement about what you're doing. What's more interesting to listen to? Now, maybe from a train wreck perspective, well, equally, most of those things probably could be a great train wreck perspective. But me personally, and I think most people, we're going to pick that over-the-top guy 9 times out of 10. If you don't sound like you're the DJ from a strip club, you're not going hard enough, man. Gentlemen, put your hands together for Savannah. Number 6, be patient. Man, this takes a while. Let me give you an example just on this episode of the time that it takes to put something like this together. Right now, raw tape, 39 minutes, 25 seconds. Big Podcast Supercomputer. Give me a time check.
This is the Big Podcast Supercomputer with a courtesy time check. The current playtime on this episode is 27 minutes and 35 seconds. Approximately 10 minutes of raw tape has been removed.
You see, that's how long this stuff takes. You got to be patient with yourself, not only with individual episodes, but with episodes in general, with shows in general, with audiences in general. It takes a while for you to build an audience, to get good, to find your voice, get comfortable. Talk about the overnight sensation. Every overnight sensation takes 7 years, 3-4 years, whatever. A career is 7 years on average. You got 3 years up, you got 1 year on top of things, and you got 3 years coming down. So plan to spend a little bit of time on your podcast. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Sometimes it does. Sometimes there'll be a fluke. Haktua, she was a fluke. That Haktua video that put her over the top, that introduced her to so many people, that was taken in Nashville. She was here just hanging out on Broadway. Somebody came up to her with a camera, and there are guys there all the time looking for these viral moments. That guy got one. And she had her 15 minutes of fame. I thought she was going to hang out a little bit longer, guys, but she did not. You might be able to replicate that, but that is lightning in the bottle, man. It is much better for you to spend the time on it, be patient. You're going to have something that lasts a little bit longer, certainly. Number 7, don't be afraid to fail. And this gets back into trying new things. The, hey, everybody, that kind of stuff, segments, shows, episode topics, whatever. Most stuff doesn't work. So you can't be afraid to fail. On the flip side of that, he says, don't be afraid to succeed. That's another thing. I kind of wonder about these guys that are still that beginning podcaster. Hey, everybody. Hey, they want to be liked by everybody. They don't have an opinion. They've got that milquetoast thing that isn't going to piss anybody off, but it's not going to get anybody truly excited. Now, that's the most boring podcast. It's not the personality. Hey, everybody. Hey, it's my podcast. It's what you say with your words. If you're not saying anything, nobody's going to listen to that. Don't be paranoid about other people stealing your ideas. This is a big one. So many people come to me for consulting. Man, we're going to need you to sign this NDA, non-disclosure agreement. I'm not signing that. I mean, dude, I'm not going to steal your idea. I'm not going to go out and blab it all over the world. I probably don't care. Ideas are a nickel a dozen. What matters is all of these things on this list. Are you going to stick to it? Are you going to develop your voice and develop the audience as well? Are you going to get to know your peers and do cross promotions with things and do partnerships and be patient and not be afraid to fail? And don't sabotage yourself because you're afraid of success. It's not the idea that gets people somewhere. It's the personality, it's the action, it's the stick-to-itiveness. So don't be paranoid about somebody stealing your idea. Even if they do, they're probably not going to do anything with it. Finally, he says this, at least finally on my list. This is the 10th thing that I'm mentioning. He's got 40 of them, and I've got these linked at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. 223 is the issue. He says, define your own success. And that is 100% true. What I want, different from what you want. What all these bros on YouTube telling you to make so much money in a certain amount of time or get so many views or whatever, maybe you don't want that. I love audio first podcasting. I've got no desire to be on YouTube. I don't care about being famous. Do I want to be respected? Yeah. Some people, they want to be famous. They don't want to be respected. And that's what I'm talking about. You define your own success. I've got all 40 of these. I think I'm going to write a little bit more on each of these. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. Some of them are really great. And I've got a lot of thoughts on them. If you're interested in a specific one, my thoughts, reach out to me. You can do that via Blue Sky. I've got that link. And again, it's a manifesto for content creators. Everything. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 233. A Mailchimp alternative. Yeah. Remember Mailchimp? Those ads from cereal? Mailchimp, whatever. Yeah, Mailchimp. It's a weird word. A lot of people are on it. Maybe you're sending your mail that way. Newsletters, mailing list stuff. Let me give you two things to consider if you've got an email list or you want one. One, sending email is cheaper and easier than ever. Man, I used to pay hundreds of dollars every month for an email newsletter. And granted, I had like 80,000 people on it. But it was expensive, man. These days, well, I'll tell you about this deal here because it's cheaper than you think. Cheaper and easier than ever. Most podcasters don't need crazy automations, by the way. All most podcasters need is a way to send an email to listeners. That is it. And so many of these email companies, they say, oh, it's got automations and you can route it like this and you can segment your listeners like this. And we know. Yeah, you can do that. That's okay. If you've got some kind of e-commerce business, that can be important. But if you've just got a newsletter, get everybody on the same list and send, baby. That's it. And that's cheaper and easier than ever. This service is called Xol. I think that's how you say it. Xaolx. I don't know how to say it. But I do know it's a Mailchimp alternative. I've got it linked at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 223. A one-time charge of $49. It is a good basic solution for podcasters who simply need to send newsletters and some basic emails. It may be a good solution for you. It's got a 60-day money-back guarantee. If you're on something like Mailchimp, you're on ConvertKit, you're on Constant Contact, Aweber, one of those fancy systems like I'm talking about, you might want to check this out. One-time fee of $49. And by the way, if you want those fancy automations, this includes that also. Again, I've got it linked, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. It's a Mailchimp alternative, and you will find it in issue number 223. The power of local and regional events. I really believe this. Podcasting is better with a friend. It is nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. It is nice to get advice when needed. Maybe even borrow a mic from time to time. If you need somebody like that in your life, a local meetup is the best place to do that. I know everybody's excited about big podcasting events, big content creator events. Oh man, I'm going to Boise, Idaho. I'm going to Dallas. I'm going to New York City. That's great. That's cool. You can keep in touch with the people you meet via Facebook or online, call them every once in a while. But the best people for you to connect with in your zip code, in your city, they are in your area. I'll give you an example of how this works. I was working on a project. This is a documentary. I needed a backup recorder. I was going into it with a Zoom F6, if that means anything to you. It's a field recorder, 32-bit float, really nice. But I needed to back up my buddy Jeff Sanders, 5 a.m. Miracle. You might know that podcast. He's got this lavalier that he's got. Same deal, 32-bit float. It's actually called an F2, also by Zoom. I said, hey, man, can I try that lavalier? I need a backup recorder. I want to see if this thing would work for me. He said, yeah, come get it. Borrow Jeff's mic. Works great as a backup. And it saved me one time. Always good to run a backup. Speaking of F recorders, I've got a Zoom F3 backing this up. If you're not running a backup whenever you're doing an interview, do it. Because you will miss a moment in time if you do not. Murphy's Law will strike. Back to my point. It's nice to have somebody local that you can count on. Check out ideas with. Maybe if you're going to one of those bigger events, drive with them, fly with them. It's good to have a friend in your city. Are there no events in your area? Let me tell you really quickly how to start one. First of all, you're going to just pick a date and time. Let people know where you're going to be and go there. And it doesn't have to be huge. It could be a coffee shop. Hey, we'll be there Monday, 5 p.m. If you're into podcasting, show up. Let me give you a quick and dirty 3-step process for making this happen. First of all, find a venue that works for casual conversation. I mentioned a coffee shop. You could have a library meeting room. Libraries have free meeting space available to the community. Could be a co-working space, quiet section of the local park. Doesn't matter. As long as people can get there and as long as you can have a casual conversation. That's it. It doesn't have to be fancy. You want a location that's easy to access. You want a location that has enough room for a small group to gather comfortably. I've been to some meetings, usually in hotels where somebody's paying for the space. They will get the smallest room possible and oversell that room, thinking, oh man, it's going to look packed. It's not good to network in. That might be great for a show if you're trying to build a buzz, like you got a band or you're doing a live podcast or something like that. But as far as hanging out, no, it's not good. You want people to be able to move. People need to be able to park their cars there if they're getting there that way. People need to know how to get there and they need to feel comfortable getting there. Don't just have something because you think it's cool, it's in your neighborhood. If nobody's ever been to your neighborhood, have it in a neighborhood where people go. Sometimes I see people, they're in like Bump, Tennessee, and they live there. It's like, oh man, I'll just do it in Bump, Tennessee. Nobody's going to Bump, Tennessee. Bump, Tennessee comes to us, goes to Nashville, goes to Memphis, goes to whatever big city there is in the area. That's where your people are. Don't make all the people come to you. They will not. Like I said, you want to set a date and time. Once you do that, create an open invite using social media platforms like Facebook, meetup.com. Done. I talked earlier about not being afraid to try something. Maybe 2 or 3 people show up. Okay, cool. You did it. You're building something. Somebody has a good time. They're going to go out and tell people. They're going to bring more people the next time. It takes a while, just like your podcast took a while. That's why you want to set it up now. Do it. If you want to do some kind of meetup, and this doesn't have to be a podcaster meetup. This could be a meetup around the topic of your podcast. You got a podcast about dogs? Good. Dog meetup. At the dog park. We're going to get some dog lovers together. We're going to go to the dog park, let our dogs run loose, and we're going to chill. Coffee meetup. Coffee shop. Religious meetup. I don't know. Where do religious people go? Church? Yoga meetup. Yoga studio. Park. Wherever. It could be related to your podcast, but that's basically how to do it. I've got all this stuff written down, by the way. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 223. Let me give you a basic meetup outline, though. Because you think, oh, okay, I got the time, I got the date, I got the place. What do I do? At the meetup itself, start with introductions so everybody knows who's in the room. Hey, my name's David. I've got a podcast for podcasters. It is called Build a Big Podcast. If you're interested in growing your podcast, you want to talk about it, you're interested in starting a podcast, come see me. Thanks for letting me be here. Go to the next guy. Hey, I'm John. I got a podcast about recovery. It's specifically for Christians. If you're a Christian and you're in recovery, you think recovery might be for you, come talk to me. Next guy. Everybody knows who's in the room. Then you can connect after the introductions. And maybe that's it. Maybe you just mingle, chill out, talk to each other. Or maybe you've got a presentation. Or here's a third one. You break the ice by having people share an answer to a single question, the same question, What's the latest book you've read? What's the latest movie you've seen that you really liked? Whatever. Something related to the topic of your podcast. That is it. Let me give you a bonus one. Somebody shares a win or a challenge. You got a dog training podcast? Here's a dog training challenge that I've got. That sets it up for collaboration. If I hear somebody say, oh, I just got a dog, his name is Fido, he's got separation anxiety, and I've been through that, I'm going to go talk to that person. Hey, man, I had the same issue. Here's what we did. Maybe you'll have luck with this. It's as easy as that. I've got all these outlines in writing, the plan in writing. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 223. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Build the Big Podcast. A little bit longer than normal, and I appreciate you sticking it out with me. If you want to reach out to me, you can do that at bigpodcast.com. If you want the next episode and the one after that, you can subscribe to this podcast also at bigpodcast.com. I make it easy for you, man. Just go there, hit the subscribe button. Then you're going to have one of three choices. One for Android, one for iPhone, one is an RSS feed. One click is all it takes. Subscribe to the podcast. It's free, and you will never miss an episode. And I've got some other resources there for you, too. If you want to grow your podcast, get more people to your podcast, make people care about your podcast, you'll find it there at bigpodcast.com. You'll also find Big Podcast AMP, the audio monetization program. If you want an instant community of podcasters, if you want instant access to me, you and me, one-on-one, baby, we'll do it. I'll answer every single question you've got about growing the podcast, getting more people to your podcast, making more money with your podcast. We'll come up with a plan for you and then act on it. I will be holding your hand. You will have a group of people there working with you so you won't feel alone doing it. Everything's at bigpodcast.com. Again, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Build a Big Podcast. Go there now, bigpodcast.com. Do subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.